Welcome into the Rocc Pod, presented by the Royal Oak, Michigan Chamber of Commerce. I am John Gay from Jag and Detroit Podcasts.
I am Lisa B., your neighborhood realtor with Keller Williams Advantage.
And shout out to our third co-host, Trish Carruth, unable to join us today, but we are excited for our conversation with today's guest. Our guest today is Joe Haney, president of Assured Partners of Michigan. They offer business insurance, risk management, employee benefits, and so much more. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Thanks for having me.
Joe, give us a little bit about your personal backstory and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, I started a firm called Sterling Insurance Group probably around 25 years ago. We became a top 170th broker in the country out of about 39,000. And just with the consolidation of the insurance space, it became to a point in order for us to compete, it made more sense to join up with a larger partner and work together. And so at that point, we looked around who would we want to partner with and who we'd want to work for the next day. And Assured Partners just was a natural fit for us and how they operate and how they run. So the last 2.5 years, we've been Assured Partners. And since that time, we've doubled our business in Michigan. We're probably number 2 largest broker in Michigan right now with the size for all the acquisitions we've done.
I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. It's a dirty word, mental health. And I am so glad that we're actually talking about mental health because it does matter so much. I love that we're having this discussion. Can you talk to us about the importance of mental health support in the workplace, addressing the strategies and benefits that companies are implementing to support employee well-being?
Yeah, no question. After COVID, it's such an issue, right? For all employees. What you're seeing more so is a lot of them are employee assistance programs, EAP, but it is such an issue. You see it with COVID. I think that a lot of the COVID issues are the people working by themselves, and the mental health has just gotten so bad. So in the workplace, you just got to identify it. Assured Partners have made somewhat of an initiative to get a little bit more back into work, right? Building a culture 2 to 3 days a week, because we just find that people, they're humans, they want to be around together. And we had a few people fighting it and saying, I don't want to do that. And after about 6 months, when they came back a couple of days, you could see their mental, they even said it. It's so nice to see that person. I haven't seen him in 2 years.
Yeah.
It's so nice. I haven't met this person. I didn't really work here. And it's great to work. Yeah, obviously Fridays and, remote's always nice, but there's just a little bit of balance, I think. And you're starting to see it in other cities. I was in New York a couple months ago, and they're a lot more back in, I would tell you. They were 4 to 5 days a week. I think as an employer, you really identify it. You have to make sure you're letting your employees know and understand those systems are available or those programs are available. We certainly, being in the employee benefit space, that's an area that we focus on when we're with our clients on renewals to talk about, employee assistance. It's bigger than ever, and there's different versions thereof. And you're starting to see some of the clients spending a little bit more on that because they want let's just say the upgraded service that their clients or their employees can really take advantage of. And happy workplace, good culture, it's better for the bottom line, period. Turning over employees, if they're quitting, there's a cost to that. A lot of people look short-sighted and say, I'm not paying for that. Well, okay. Well, typically if you're hiring someone now, especially kind of with the great, resignation, you're going to pay more to get someone to come work for you. So
yeah,
why don't you keep the one you have, keep them healthy and keep them trained and give them the support and the tools they need. And they appreciate it as an employer. They appreciate that you care about them.
And I was going to kind of put this out there too. There's really 2 kinds of people. You've got your introverts and your extroverts. And especially during COVID, a lot of people did have a really hard time with it. And there's other people that thrive during that because they were able to stay at home and work from home. I would imagine as an employer that's probably the hardest to identify because we've basically created a workspace for very extroverted people. It's in a group environment and there's a lot of things there, but there's not a lot of support when you are working from home. And maybe you actually are more productive when you're at home in your comfort zone and not surrounded by a lot of people. So I love that they're looking at different ways of supporting everybody in the workforce, whether you're in the office or at home.
Yeah, you have to, right? And to go off of that, during COVID, we hired people that were 100% remote.
Yeah.
So what do we tell them now? They live 3 hours from the office. Well, now you got to commute in, right?
Right.
So you have that, right? That's part of it. We had employees working from home prior to COVID. We did a flexible schedule prior to COVID. But even the ones that work from home, we try to still get them in the office, not once a week, that type of thing, but maybe every a couple of weeks, once a month. So that just culturally they can get together with their teams. We do team chat through Microsoft Teams. So that gives a little bit of interaction because they're working as a team together and communicating with texting, but there's nothing that represents being face to face. I tell folks, I have lots of clients and it's funny. You'll do a Teams call, similar to this, and then all our team's on there and you'll hang up and you're sitting next to the client and they ask you a bunch of questions. You're like, what? We just went over this. And but it's just who we are, more and more. And you talk about artificial intelligence, how it's going to replace this and that. And that's kind of the buzzword. At the end of the day, we need human interaction. And to your point, at the introvert, you just got to really be, as a manager or leader, understand some of those and identify some of the, you see it sometimes on teams. They're disheveled. Their kind of life's disheveled. They're checked out without any activities for a while. And we've seen that. And those are the ones we try to engage more to bring them back in, to get them back in and really try to foster and nurture them more.
It's funny, Lisa brought up introvert versus extrovert. Another thing that I'm thinking as you're talking there, Joe, is a generational thing a little bit, because you've got some younger millennials that have just entered the workforce prior to or during COVID. And some of the research I've seen is that some of the younger folks are dying to get into the office because they haven't had that office experience. Maybe COVID happened when they were in college, or maybe. So I think there's a lot of different groups of people you've got to kind of tailor everything to. It
is. It's funny. So my son just started with us about a week ago, right? And he's in the office, and I'm like, my advice is be the first one in, the last one out, and learn as much as you can from these. They're like a mainframe computer, right? Some of these people.
Yeah.
They have so much knowledge to share. And I said, go sit with Wayne in the morning, get in there at 7 a.m. and spend an hour with Wayne or two, and you'll learn from him. But to your point, if you're working from home, you're not. We've had a lot that have interviewed and said, how many days a week from home can I work?
Right.
And if I was a young person, that's probably not the question I would ask when I'm going to interview.
That's fair.
I would say, how many days can I learn from a mentor? Because there's only so much time, and you're not going to be able to grow or develop. And that's, I think, you're starting to see more and more companies. You're starting to see Apple and Amazon and, obviously Tesla's even more so, but you've got to come back in to learn and grow. These younger people aren't getting, attorneys you see at accounting firms, for 2 years, we've had people that we had a party, like a barbecue, and I was shocked how many people didn't know each other.
Yeah,
they got hired during COVID. They never met.
Yeah.
But it is key for the younger people to progress, and it's going to be 5 days a week. No, but there is a nice part about that little flexibility, 3 to 4 days in the office. So if it's snowing out, weather's bad, it's so many ways to communicate. We have been more efficient even in our business, because a lot of our clients have gotten used to, if we're going to see them 3 times a year, maybe 2 of those times are over Teams, but certainly the renewal time, it's face to face.
Yeah. Well, I want to pivot the conversation a little bit, Joe, to healthcare coverage. We talked about workplace culture, but there's a lot of different trends in healthcare coverage for employees, including telemedicine, preventative care, wellness programs. What are you seeing in that piece of it?
Telemedicine, I think, again, out of COVID, even my own doctor, I think that's just been huge, right? If you're sick, and my daughter's sick, she's always getting something, right?
Right.
So she's away at college, and she goes to every urgent care, and then she gets sicker because she's in urgent care, right? So people freak out because they're going to urgent care, and they get sicker because they're going to urgent care. Then you got COVID, new COVID coming out. People don't want to go to urgent care. Telemedicine is great. It's just amazing. That's what can be done now. It's like, my son just got braces. They have a thing now that you put it in your mouth, and it zooms over your mouth. It sends it to the doctor, and the doctor says, okay, you're not brushing these teeth the right way. You're not doing this the right way.
Wow.
Well, 3 years ago, you had to go to the orthodontist to have that checked out, take a half day off school or whatever it is, and they do it in 5 minutes at home. The evolution of telemedicine is incredible, right? A doctor can work from anywhere. I have a friend that's a dermatologist. He works from home a lot, or he's traveling, and still can do all the telemedicine. I think it's great. Preventative care and wellness programs, it's key to really not push those. HIPAA obviously prevents you from knowing what the ailments might be in your population, but the more they can be proactive in going to see a doctor and finding what something's happening. It's like they say, if you were to die of heart disease, you shouldn't, because if you go to see a doctor, know your symptoms, but so many people don't do that. Oh, I'm Superman. I don't need to do that.
Guys especially are guilty of that, I know.
Guys are especially, no, right. No, it's not reading directions, right? That's something my wife's like, why aren't you reading these directions on this thing last night? I'm like, I can figure it out, right?
Well, yeah. I bought this thing at IKEA. I can figure it out myself.
Right.
Insurance companies, I think, are starting to realize also that sometimes preventative care is cheaper for them than dealing with the onset of a certain disease too, right?
They can drill down the data, and the data analytics that carriers have on your population and where it's being driven is key. But there's a balance. People also have to engage, right? So that you can engage them in the workplace, open enrollment, you engage them with sending information out. You can drill down and say, what kind of medicines are they taking that, maybe it's a cost prohibitive. There's some different options they can go there. But it really is just not a one-prong approach to try to communicate. You can't go to a person, because of HIPAA and say, hey, your diabetes isn't doing very good. We should talk about that.
Right.
You can at least provide the resources, and hopefully they see it, it's somewhat of engagement, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So now that we're talking about cost savings, especially for employers, let's talk about employee retention and benefits. Can you tell us a little bit more about comprehensive benefits that can be a key factor in attracting and retaining top talent in a competitive job market?
For sure, especially here in Michigan, Blue Cross Blue Shield, everyone loves the blue card, right? And it's, we talk to a lot of our clients. If you want to get an upgraded workforce, if you want to call it that, you got to offer benefits. And I would tell you, short-term, long-term, voluntary life. We just literally had a client right now that, they want to self-fund their life insurance and not have voluntary. And I'm like, all right, well, what about if you have 4 diabetics in your office? They can't get life insurance elsewhere. They get a guaranteed issue policy because they work for you. That's a huge benefit for somebody with, medical conditions. So by offering those, that might help retention of the employee. So like, well, I get this here. I don't get it someplace else. And I think it's a lot of times you see where they go down the street because they get $1 more, but they don't realize that, they have a $3,000 deductible and the company they're at's paying it with a $1,000 deductible and they don't pay any money for their insurance. So a lot of times their employees jumping around, they need to look at that as well. But it is key. It's got to be affordable for them. And they got to understand how to use it. A lot of times you see HSAs are popular, health savings account with younger population.
Yeah.
First dollar besides the wellness visits. Consumerisms, they got to understand what the costs are. So if you go to a corner drugstore and you look at Walgreens, Walmart, Costco, and whatever, Rite Aid, their drugs are all different prices.
Yeah.
You take it upon yourself to shop around. You're better to go to Costco. You can go to Costco and a lot of times it's free because they get you in the store, right?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Just like those rotisserie chickens and hot dogs.
Yeah, seriously.
How do I not know this?
There's Canadian drugs too. You can go and mail order Canadian drugs, much cheaper, and they'll mail them to you. So if you're, I keep on going on diabetes, but you've got drugs that you have to take every day, every month, you can order 3 months supply. They'll send them to you in a little frozen container. People have to own it more. It's just not put your head in the sand and not what's going on. If you're on an HSA, you can shop around an MRI and save, $1,000 difference, right?
Sure, yeah. So let me ask you this. We started to talk a little bit earlier about a diverse workforce in terms of both, like Lisa said, again, introvert, extrovert, multi-generational. Talk a little bit about the DEI piece of it, diversity, equity, inclusion. That is just such a hot topic in the world right now for a very good reason and long overdue. Where do you sit on that?
If you're going to be successful in today's workforce, you have to have diversity and inclusion, and you really have to help lift people up. It's just a different world we live in today than it was 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. I think the more successful companies, they accept and move forward and help push along, and they're just better. It's better for everybody. It's a more welcoming environment. And you'll look, and I think studies have shown that those companies do better financially. At the end of the day, they want to do better financially. So
right.
A diverse company, inclusion company, you're going to see better results and they're going to have better retention. They're going to do better. And I think if it's from a business standpoint, it's good for business to be a diverse company. No question.
But also when people come in from different backgrounds, they often have different ideas that bring to the table.
That's what I'm saying. They bring up different aspects, it's for sure. If you have all the same people in the same room, you get the same opinion, right?
Yes, boss. Great idea, boss. That sounds like a plan. Let's do it.
Right. That's why I see the businesses are doing better for that reason. The ones that are embracing it more, no question.
All right, Joe. Well, now it is time for our fishbowl question of the day, where we ask a totally random question.
Oh, wow. All right.
John, can you pull it?
Yeah, let's take a look down here. All right. Well, this is a good one. Joe, what was your favorite game as a child?
Still is, really, as a board game, Monopoly, right?
Ooh.
Of course it would be in your industry.
Right.
Of course it would be.
Oh my gosh. I just did a listing video and I dressed up as the Monopoly man.
Oh, did you? Yeah. No, it's we play it today still, and I don't let my kids win.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, yeah, we're very aggressive. We're competitive on it, so it's fun.
How long does an average game take?
It could take a while, right? You kind of do the horse trading and all that. We've got to put some rules around it because it can go for hours.
Do you know the backstory on this game?
Monopoly?
Yeah.
I don't.
No, it was actually a woman who invented it. So she designed the game, and it was actually, there was 2 sets of rules. Lizzie Maggie is her name. Mm-hmm. So there were 2 sets of rules. One was actually an all-inclusive, like, hey, we're here to help each other and make sure that everybody has an effective cost of living. And the other rule was Monopoly, all out for get as much as you can.
Ah!
Yeah. And her goal was to actually share with people the differences in what it's like to actually build a community versus trying to come in and dominate a community. And basically, when they came in and bought the game, they did away with the entire first half of the game and they just turned it into Monopoly.
It was Parker Brothers, I think, wasn't it?
And they've actually done studies on it, and they've interviewed people, and they basically put them in a room and said, okay, we're going to play Monopoly. and you're going to get all the properties, you're going to get all the money, and let's see what happens from a personality perspective. And it was fascinating. It seemed like in their study, didn't matter how nice you were, when you were suddenly given the keys to the kingdom and had everything, you became like a very obnoxious person to the point where people were like, I don't even like who I'm turning into. It was a fascinating study.
Wow.
So dig into that a little bit more, especially if you love the game Monopoly.
That's great.
What was the woman's name, Lisa?
Lizzie Maggie.
I'm just thinking about Lizzie setting up this great, community everything, and Joe's there bankrupting his kids.
Hey, well, the reality of it is that's basically how the world turned into, and whether it was all based on the game of Monopoly or not. But that's where we're at in this world. And I think that, there's undercurrents of communities stepping up and saying, like, we really want to be here to support each other, and I think it's a great thing to see the change and the shift that's happening in communities, but definitely look into it. It's fascinating.
That is good to know. I learned something today. Thanks for the fishbowl.
Look at that. By listening to the Rocc Pod, not only do you get to know the wonderful members of the Royal Oak Chamber of Commerce, you get added bonuses and added information thanks to Lisa Bibby. So thank you so much.
I am a walking encyclopedia, I tell people, of completely useless and really random important information.
All right.
It worked out well today. Joe, give us a quick pitch on Assured Partners of Michigan and how people can reach you if they want to know more.
Yeah, certainly. We have an office. We just moved into a new office in Royal Oak. We have offices in Ann Arbor, Sterling Heights, Downriver, Wyandotte, Alpena, Saginaw, across the state of Michigan. It's interesting because as we're transforming, we're an 11-year-old, $2.6 billion company recapping right now. We're really trying to build our brand out more in Michigan because it's been an amalgamation of a lot of different agencies. And if you were to ask a typical person in the insurance business or companies, they don't even know who we are, right? Like, who are you? What are you? But we're probably, like I said, one of the largest. In certain spaces, we are the largest insurance broker. We're just doing a better job with branding. Christina, who handles our branding, will get our name out there more, and we'll continue to acquire and grow. But it's everything we just talked about a diverse workplace and embracing and all the opportunities. I think it's a great company. As I said, we had a lot of choices when we did our transaction. I'm glad I joined Assured Partners. And I get the question every day, how come I'm not retired and when's my contract up? I don't have a contract and I don't plan on retiring. So that just says how good a company it is for me, at least.
There we go.
Joe, well, thank you so much for being on. Can you give us a website, phone number, contact information that people can reach you?
Yeah, the telephone number is 586-323-5700. And we're transitioning our website right now, but it's assuredpartners.com.
All right, thank you. My name is Lisa Bibby, and I'm a realtor with Keller Williams Advantage. I put the real back in realtor. Unsure of how the market is shifting and thinking of buying or selling this year? Call for a free consultation. My website is soldbylisab.com, and you can find me on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at soldbylisab.
You're like a radio personality, Lisa. Wow, you're like, look at that, man. It's real estate and the radio personality.
Seriously, Joe, check out her YouTube. It's incredible. I can't wait to see the Monopoly video.
Lisa, I have a guy that just moved from me. He's a sales leader. He's living in Royal Oak in an apartment across from our offices, right? So he's at some point looking for a house in the next few months here.
Oh, definitely give him my number. I will help him, and I know how to write winning offers.
Yeah, there you go.
Making all kinds of connections, which the Royal Oak Chamber is all about. Before you hear my plug, I will copy and paste Trish's plug from a previous episode. So here you go.
I'm Trish Carruth, third-generation jeweler and owner of Your Personal Jeweler. I specialize in creating custom engagement, wedding rings, and fine jewelry. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at The Personal Jeweler, on our website, www.thepersonaljeweler.com, or at our storefront in downtown Royal Oak on 4th and Washington.
Thank you, Trish. And my name is John Gay from Jag in Detroit Podcast. If you have any questions at all about the emerging podcast industry, I'm happy to help answer them or help you start a podcast. You can find me on social at Jag in Detroit or on my website, jagindetroit.com. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Rocc Pod, produced for the Royal Oak, Michigan Chamber of Commerce. For more information about the Royal Oak Chamber, events, how to get involved, you can visit royaloakchamber.com. Thanks, everyone.